Lucia joins us to break down what strong data actually looks like when real businesses need answers fast. We talk forecasting, trust, AI, and why you need an unbiased perspective before you bet big. What is the importance of strong data in decision making?
Well, I think it's very, very important because right now, it's not only the type of data you get, but that it needs to be reliable, it needs to be complete. We're making decisions. What I've seen with a lot of our clients and with a lot of companies that we're living in a competing environment, changing. And I think every time more with this whole globalization in so many countries, well, that is very important to be able to make better, more informed decisions. What we've seen is that not only to know the history, because if you don't know your history, you're destined to repeat it, but to try to forecast, which is what we do a lot in our company, to what's going to happen, to be able to plan for different scenarios, be able to mitigate risk and, capitalize on opportunities.
Forecasting is something that every good entrepreneur should be thinking about, obviously, and are to an extent, but often it's one of the most misunderstood aspects of how to make decisions. What do you think is the most common issue with the way that people forecast?
Well, first, it's because it's not rocket science and it's not something that there's only one way to do it. And it's also, I think, that so many people, even economists, don't trust forecasting for business decisions. I've seen some economists that are working like the National Bank or more in econometric models that for, monetary policy. And they say, no, for example, the peso dollar outlook, it's impossible to forecast. Or if there's going to be COVID, or if there's going to be a trade war or geopolitical, there's so many factors to have to account. Sometimes, we have very good models with AI or with econometrics, statistic models. But the thing is, you need the human factor to be able to try to analyze different possibilities and try to, forecast what's going to happen if A, B, or C happens. And the reality is, because sometimes they ask me, an economist spends half the time saying what's going to happen and the other half the time explaining why it didn't happen what they said. And what we say is, in the end, no one has the magic wand or the crystal ball to be able to say, this is what's going to happen. But at the end of the day, you need to plan. Businesses need to make decisions. They need a forecast. And that's where, there are people who are prepared for this, you are focused on your company. Either you sell milk or you're in the services or you're in a hospital or anything. And you cannot be all the time seeing what Trump is going to do, what Sheinbaum, with politics in general, and how the reforms are going to help or affect you. And that's where forecasters like we come in. We are all the time in this. And in the end, you need another opinion, because you cannot be judge and jury. And when we see that someone is making a forecast and doesn't go to a third unbiased party, the problem can be sometimes that, you hope something is going to happen and therefore you forecast that's going to happen and then you plan accordingly. And that could be, risky when making a big investment decision or in general decision for the company.
So generally speaking, you would say that people that are forecasting on their own are typically in favor of a certain decision or a certain event, and it's positive for them.
Yes, it's psychologically, it's natural. Mm-hmm. If you're not going to hope for something bad to happen, and it depends, what we're seeing is if you're in market, finance, or what type of the company, and it's not that you're trying to lie or forecasting correctly or something, but it's natural that your own decisions or your own views, especially because the reality is that politics, especially in the short term, when investing in the long term, you need to look at other factors. There's more investment decisions, productivity, demographics, or in the, more macro aspects in the long term. But in the short term, there are a lot of political factors that come into place, which type of reforms are going to be, where the government is going to allow or not the type of investments, what's our trade relationships going to be with the different types of countries. And when you are forecasting for your own company, what we've seen is that, well, you can have very good models, but sometimes the big factors that are like what's behind the numbers, sometimes we have like an ideology that it doesn't mean it's right or wrong. What we try to be, it's completely impartial. So I am not in favor or against any government. I'm just seeing what type of decisions they are making and how this is going to affect or help you. And that way, the person is not judge and jury, which is what we've seen happen. A lot of companies that are very big companies here in Mexico are like, why do you have an outside economist? I mean, you have your own economist inside the company. And yes, they do great models, but they say, I need an unbiased opinion. So we are not thinking that just because we hope something is going to happen, or just because we don't like this person and we think they're going to do everything wrong, or vice versa. So we're like, okay, no, let's go to an unbiased party that has no gain whatsoever in what's going to happen. And that way they can help us take better and informed decisions.
Mm-hmm. So is it safe to say that ultimately you're saving these businesses and founders, et cetera, time because they're better prepared for any X outcome that could come their way, and they know all the steps they would take, or to a certain extent, when X comes to fruition?
I think, yes, we think of ourselves as a partner for these businesses more than just economic reports. So we don't think that we're just going to give them the numbers and the reports and here you go. Make your own decisions. Of course, the company in the end is going to make the decisions, and there are great leaders here in the Mexican companies that they take the decisions, but they don't have, like you said, the time to be analyzing all the different scenarios and reading 1,000 reports, and that's where we come in. So we do that. We don't think, like I said before, that we have the magic wand. So yes, we have our own econometric and AI models, but we are also seeing what other economists are forecasting. We are actually very transparent, compare ourselves to them and say, we know that they are saying this, we think this other thing is more probable, and we say the reasons behind it. And all of our reports, we try to make 1-pager, 2-pager. They're like, well, why not have it longer? I mean, if they ask, they can arrange a call with me, or I send them an email, or if they think they need more explaining. But what we see is they don't have the time. They need to make decisions and split-second decisions sometimes. So what we want is to save them that time. And well, after being 30 years, the company already has, we've gained that, social capital, or that trust the companies have put on us that, okay, we know Harvard is doing the work. We know that they are reading everything and they're always trying to be aware of everything that's going around. And they're going to communicate it with us on the fastest way possible so we can make informed decisions. Because a word that we believe is opportunity of information. It's not only the data. I mean, yes, I could build a model that would be great. And there are some economists that they say, no, to build a model, I need 3 weeks. And I'm like, but we need to take a decision in 2 hours.
Right.
So what we say is, what can we do to make that the fastest way possible? Because we know that time is money, and we know that the opportunity of the data is as relevant as the data to be reliable and good.
Right. Yeah. Because I mean, you can't make decisions based on last month's data, 2 months ago, et cetera, et cetera. It's outdated.
Exactly. And that's what we're always seeing. Like, for example, today in the morning, the inflation, Mexico's latest inflation data was published. And every day I'm like, okay, so we know that today is a day that we're all going to wake up. There are some days I wake up at 4 a.m. Every Monday, actually. So every Monday, and every time there's a new published data, we wake up really early to see what is the data, to analyze it, to see what's the impact in the foreign exchange, if it's going to impact monetary policy, if it's going to impact interest rates, because we know that these variables are very important for companies to be able to decide if they're going to invest or not, or if they're going to hedge, do like hedging strategies, or if they're going to, well, finance different type of projects. So what we need to do, and we are very aware of the importance of this, is that the opportunity that we give them this information, and that if we do it tomorrow, well, by tomorrow, a lot of things might have changed and you miss out on an opportunity that you could have taken today.
Right. So, I mean, in using the 4 a.m. on Monday example, do you have clients that are actively kind of awaiting your Monday morning report, that sort of thing? Yeah.
Every Monday, we send the report out by 8:30 a.m. So I wake up at 4 to be able to, well, I start on Sunday because as an economist or in a consultancy company, that I say that there's never rest. So I'm always reading, but I'm passionate about it. Even if I'm on vacation, I'm always bringing my laptop. I'm always reading. They're like, oh, that's awful. You can never be on vacation. I'm like, no. I mean, I've had more than 10 trips this year. I mean, I have the availability and I love it. I love my job where it doesn't matter if I'm in the US, Canada, Mexico, wherever. I can bring my job with me. But I know that I cannot be like, I'm going to go away for 2 weeks, because there's a lot that can change in 2 weeks. So that's why I wake up every morning and then read all the newspapers. I read El Financiero, which is here, El Norte, Bloomberg, Wall Street Journals, New York Times. So to see what's happening. And then we send out a report every Monday morning, to a very executive report. In one page, we're going to see what are the main economic indicators, what are the main political events of the weeks, and how it's going to impact the forex exchange, so they can have good buying and selling opportunities for example, the peso dollar exchange rate. So we have a lot of different type of reports, but that's that. I remember that one time there was a problem with Banxico. So the Bank of Mexico page, I could not download the data. So the report, instead of going out at 8:30 or 9 a.m., we had to deliver it until almost 11. I had clients sending me emails and sending me WhatsApp like, Lucia, is everything okay? Are you sending the report? Because there are some clients that have been with us, well, more than 20, about, I think 30% of our clients have lived with us more than 25 years.
Wow.
So they're used to this type of reports. Of course, we're always trying to give them new reports, new data, new information, and we're always trying to innovate. But what keeps them happy, like that report, we've been doing it for 30 years. It's been changing the type of data, the type of information, to try to always, give them the best information they need. But for 30 years, there are clients that have been receiving that report morning from us. So when something happens that we have to be a little bit late, sometimes people might say, that's stressful. And I'm like, no, it's really, I'm so glad that I wake up at 4 a.m. really happy. When that has happened and I have people looking, I'm like, I'm doing a good job. Mm-hmm. We're doing a good job, because if people are saying, Lucia, why hasn't Harvard published yet this report? That means it's important to them. And what we're doing, it's important. And that's what we're always trying to have at the company, everyone that works there, is that what we do is important, and the decisions that they are taking are to make a better Mexico, well, in here for the Mexican companies, and well, worldwide companies in general.
Mm-hmm. That purpose that you're describing, you know, that feeling that you get when you are needed, you know, on the Monday morning when your report is needed, rather, was that always present in you? You know, did you know? And we'll get into your story from intern to CEO, but what excites you about what you do? Because obviously most people that hear that you wake up at 4 a.m. while you're on vacation are going to say, you're crazy, Lucia. I don't know why you do that. What is your justification? What more importantly, what's the feeling?
The culture comes from our founder, Jorge Vasquez. He's my mentor, an excellent economist. And ever since I was an intern, I love that feeling like I have a purpose, and that what I do matters, and that I'm living my footprint on this earth. Like what I'm doing is actually helping make the world a better place. And it was very interesting how when I arrived at Harvard, as we said, as an intern, I remember that I said, well, I'm just going to be here 6 months because then I'm going to do my internship as a lawyer. And also I want to be in the public area, not private, because I want to be in government and I want to change the world, or I want to be in the UN. And ever since I was a little girl, I always said, I want to make a difference in the world. So the hard work is worth it. But then when I met the culture and the vision that Harvard has, when he explained to me that in the private sector, you can help just as much or even more. He said, Lucia, imagine the decision. We're talking about multi-billion-dollar companies that are making decisions that you are helping them. You are helping them with this forecast to make these decisions. And then we saw very concrete examples of companies, I don't know, that we forecasted that it was going to double. The market was going to double. So they decided to open a factory. And they said, okay, so this factory just gave 300 families new jobs. So, and I said, okay, so feeling that even if it's just in a little portion, that I was part of that, it's part of what makes me love what I do and love my company.
And was that apparent to you the second you started at Harvard? You mentioned that it was a feeling right away when having a conversation with the founder.
Yes, it was less than 2 months in, because in my interview, I'm very honest, explicit. So I'm like, I'm going to be honest. They searched for me as an intern. I wasn't ready to go on the job market. But then one of the person that was working at Harvard was like, I've met the most intense girl that she's studying to be an economist and a lawyer. And instead of getting like 6 classes, she's taking 12 courses. And I think this is the type of girl you need. So they called me and I'm like, well, to be able to graduate, I need to do an internship. So why not? This is not what I want to do with my life. But sure, why not? And after starting to see like the culture, the mission, and talking with the founder, I found my place. My mom was very happy because she always said that I was going to move away from Mexico all the time. She's like, you're going to the UN, or I know your purpose and that you want to help make the world a better place. But after the founder taught me, and well, I still carry his values now that I'm the CEO, is that what we do matters, and the way that the type of job that we do can make the world a better place. That makes it everyone go the extra mile, not just do the work because you're getting paid for it or because you have to, but we have a write on the wall. When you go inside our offices, it says always deliver more than expected. So that's a thing that we have always done, because we know the importance of the decisions that are taken with our data, with our reports. And I think less than 2 months in, I saw that that's what Harvard was all about. And that's when I decided I want to marry this company. I want to be here, and 11 years after, I'm still here.
Here you are. Yeah, incredible. This is such a refreshing story, because I feel like there's so many companies that preach these values or these things that just never really come to fruition, and you can feel it, when you're in the building, in the walls, whatever the case may be. This is quite the opposite, right? And I imagine, my question is more based around the culture that's built at Harvard. As you came in 11 years ago, and you've seen it grow since. Has it always remained the same, and realistically, is it attracting people that are like you, that get so excited about the same things?
Yes, I think it has. There's always the odd man out, but in general, I think all the people that have been through Harvard, and I'm very proud of, I see that people that go be interns or economists or work with us, after I see them in great companies and we have a very good reputation. I'm always saying the companies, our own clients steal our people, but I don't see them as, okay, they're stealing all my workers. No, I'm seeing like, if they can give them a career path or opportunity, I'm so proud of them. And I'm so proud that we are seen as this company that creates great people, great economists, not only because of career-wise, not because they have the better grades, not because they have, the best curriculum, but because they're actually genuinely good people. And I think this comes from the founder, Jorge Vasquez, that he always thought the company this way. And I remember when he took a step back in 2020, and I started getting, came in as partner and then CEO and started to take the reins. And then he took a step back. He was like, my colleagues, my economic colleagues said that I'm the only one that has been able to leave and the company remained the same. We didn't lose one client, no one. So all of the companies stayed because they saw that the core values and everything has remained the same for 30 years. And that's why I think Harvard is a great company to work in.
I mean, that's apparent through, like you said, the client staying on for 30 years. It's obviously nobody wants to leave if it's so great, right? Which brings me to my next question, which is attraction, right? Like attraction of new clients and that sort of thing. You mentioned trust is obviously the key element there. How do you build trust with clients? And is it word of mouth that you're typically dealing with as far as marketing is concerned, or how does that come about?
Yes, actually, this year is my first year that I'm starting marketing because we've never done it. So for the last 25 years, it was completely word of mouth. The way the company started was the founder was part of a very big company here called FEMSA. So he worked there for 20 years, almost 18 years. And then after they were going to close the economic area, they said, Jorge, he said, well, what if I do the same thing that I was doing, but outside? And I can do it for more companies, and that way, cost-wise, it's better. And they said, okay. So that perspective, it changed from an economic point of view, because we don't see economics just like macroeconomic policy. We know how the company uses this information. So after that, it was word of mouth. And if what happened a lot is if one person was working at one company and then left for another, then we would keep this client and they would carry us with them. And this started happening all over. 5 years ago, I started to take a more active role. I love being a speaker. So my partner, when he made me CEO, he was like, I know you love public speaking and everything. So if you want to give more conferences and everything, go right ahead. So I started to go and give conferences to different type of business men and women here in Mexico. And that's why we started to gain more clients, because I would give out a conference, they would see the information, they're like, well, I want that. And that's how we started growing more rapidly. And well, this year, we started a more active, and when I say active marketing campaign, was like, okay, so let's do a LinkedIn page, and I'm supposed to start to do videos and everything soon. And they said, you should do a podcast, because I started just in my Instagram sometimes explaining what's happening. And all of my friends were like, why don't you do a podcast? Haven't done it yet, but I think it's something that we would love to. I love talking about the economy. I love talking about what we do and why we do it. So I think that's the way we're going to start to, attract more companies. We just got a company from Holland last year for the first time. And this year we have a new client from Spain. So we're getting across more countries and everything since we started posting more on LinkedIn. And then, we always say that when they say, why should we trust you? They're like, just look at our portfolio. And it's not the companies that are with us. It's like you said, how long they've been with us. These are companies that can pay whoever they want. So if they stay with us, it's because they trust us. And why do they trust us? Because we always deliver good results. And we don't have the magic wand. So when we don't, we explain why we don't. We're always very transparent with them, with what is happening, the possibilities. And I think when earning trust is a long road, it's very hard to gain and very easy to lose.
Yes.
So it's very important. And that's why I always say to all of my economists and all of my team, we need to double, triple check all of our work, because all of this trust it took a long time to build. It wasn't over the night. It wasn't only the 30 years. Add the almost 20 years more of capital and trust that the founder had. So we need to be able to check our work, because I can see the difference in generations. And I think everything has, good and bad is different. And this new generation, like more young people, the good thing is they're very fast. So productivity and ideas and innovation is amazing. But what I can see is la vieja guardia, so the old guard, so the elders, they're like, okay, yes, but you need to slow down and take a step back and really check all of your work. Because as I said, trust takes a long time to build, and it's very easily lost.
Yeah, there's a couple things that I want to dive into there that I find really intriguing. Like the first one being, now that you have these different markets, right? The older crowd and the younger crowd that ultimately make decisions in very drastically different ways. And both are clients of yours, I imagine, right? Are you changing your approach? Are you deciding which one maybe, or you do have different reports? Do you know what I mean? Like catering to different, and how do you weigh those different options?
Yes and no. What do I mean? I am catering to both of them, but I'm not choosing. I'm going to both of them. I will give you an example that I was very, for example, all of our reports, we started printing them, and the founder's wife would go, like even by bicycle, and deliver them printed. Of course, we do it right now on the cloud and by email and everything, but there's something that changed, and I had to keep both. Power BI, for example, dashboard. So we started to, a lot of our data, pass it to a dashboard. So it's easier to manipulate, visualize, and run different scenarios. And we still give out the Excel, and we still give the PDF with the tables. I remember there was a revolution when I was like, okay, so I'm giving you an Excel and I'm giving you Power BI. And so why do you need the tables in the PDF? And when I took half of them out, I had a client of over 20 years, Lucia, where are the PDF? And I'm like, no, but you can see it. And I'm like, no, because I like every morning, someone prints out the report before I arrive at the office. I sit down and I like it on paper. What do? I put it back. So I didn't get rid of what the people are used to, but I incorporated Power BI. So right now what I did is cater to both needs. And I'm like, okay, I have all of these ways. You can look and use the data, choose what fits you the most. Then that's why when talking with my partners, and we're 3 partners at the company, and the difference in age between me and my next partner is 22 years, and between him and the next partner is 22 years. So it's almost 4 generations. In the head of the business, yeah? So that makes us, when taking decisions to where we want to lead the company, they say like, okay, Lucia, you're the CEO, so you take charge. But I always listen to them, because I think wisdom also comes from, well, all of the knowledge that is gathered throughout the years. So when choosing where we're going to put our efforts, I say everywhere. I mean, we need to cater to all of the needs, because if my company has 4 generations working at the same time, a lot of companies have 4 generations. So let's cater to all of them.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So you have to have your ear on the ground, right? You want to ensure that you're always listening and catering to everybody. And maybe things get cycled out and new things cycle in, but as long as you're giving the same information, then it's valid. Awesome. I'm curious, have you ever lost trust? You know, we've talked about kind of building trust, building relationships. Have you ever lost trust with a client, and what did that look like?
Yes, it was a mistake that we made, and it was because we were saturated. So normally you have a policy that we do. I think there's 2 examples I want to give, one with wrong data and one with time-wise. So we have a policy that we always answer in 24 hours. I mean, if it's going to take more, at least I'll answer telling you I need more time. But we're always going to have an answer, because at the end of the day, we think of ourselves as partners, like for your company. Not only that there's going to be a report and then you need to take a ticket and let's see when we're going to come back to you. One time we were oversaturated with so many things and an email came about an important decision. And it was one of those things that like, I'll get to it. And then more than a week went by. And then the client didn't call back. By the time we remembered, when the renewal came, we didn't get renewed. It was one of the only clients we've lost. At the end of the day, there's always attrition, of course, because of maybe they found something that it's more up to their needs or budget-wise they cannot afford us that year or something. But I remember that as precise time that we would lost trust. And after that, we did everything to ensure that it doesn't happen again. It was not only losing the client trust. I mean, you say, well, you lose clients, you earn clients. Well, yeah, but that's not the point. That it really had an impact on us. It was, we can never be too overwhelmed for our clients because they are trusting us that we're going to be there when we need them. And the other one was with data that we gave a company that was wrong. So, I mean, we're human. Of course, we can make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. And I'm not going to stand here and say, oh, no, we've never made mistakes. Everything is always perfect. Of course, we're going to make mistakes. But we always own up to them and we're very transparent. But in this time, the mistake was made because it was not double-checked by a superior. It was an intern's work. The manager was, again, saturated with work or personal things and just grabbed what the intern did and sent it. After that, we also took matters into our hands and we're like, okay, after a mistake is made, because mistakes are going to be made. And I'm not going to say that we're not going to make more mistakes. What I don't allow is to make the same mistake again. So like, why did this happen? Let's ensure we have all the barriers put together so it does not happen again. And that's how we've been approaching when we make this type, because for us, mistakes means losing trust. And sometimes there are little mistakes like for example, my associate, and he's a grammar freak. He's like, no, Lucia, your report was very well, but there was an accent missing. I'm a grammar freak, but I think he's even more than I am. And I understand. He's like, we're always perfection. I'm like, yes, but sometimes we have so much work right now with everything that's going on. Those are the type of mistakes that, of course, very important. But what I am double, triple, quadruple checking is the data, the numbers, and the information that the companies are using to make their decisions. We cannot afford to make a mistake there because, well, like I said, trust is easily lost.
100%.
And we've seen it firsthand.
Yeah. It's such an interesting model to be a partner to a business, like an external consulting firm, especially one that deals with such speed like yourself, right? People need information within hours, less 24 hours, whatever the case may be. So I'm looking through a business lens and wondering how you manage your resources. And you know what I mean? Like, do you need to have people constantly available for whatever need is coming through, or, you know, is there lower tier work that's constantly being done? And then if something comes through, then it takes priority. How do you manage these priorities and the flow of information and the flow of priority realistically?
Yeah, it's been hard. And I think I'm a little bit intense. I would consider myself a workaholic to a point. I mean, I like to enjoy life and everything as well. But I have like insomnia, so I stay up a lot late also. And when I always said I'm the girl with the markers. So I don't know if it's a thing in English, but in Mexico, they would say la niña de los plumones. So it's a thing that someone who loves organizing. So I remember, for example, when I was at a college, and this is like a simile of what I do right now at Harvard. My parents were like, okay, we're 5 kids, brothers and sisters, and 4 of us were already driving in different universities. And they're like, okay, you're going to learn time management, how to check. Here's 2 cars. And I would tell my brothers and sisters, give me all of your like schedules. What are your classes? What are your extracurriculars if you're working? And I'm going to make an Excel, or at the time I would do it in trying to see who is going to take the call when, who's going to pick up who, how it's going to do it. And I would have the spreadsheet. And when someone had, I don't know, that they had to stay late because they had an extracurricular or something happened, they would tell me, and I would say, okay, but what Andrea has priority of was, and I would love doing that, and seeing how to manage that. I apply it to the company. So no client is more important than the other, but time wise, yes, could be. But what I do is when that happens, which is happening right now we're having a workflow of a lot of companies that are asking for different type of analysis. I'm very transparent with them. And I say, I have this. So we're completely booked when they want something, because we have the reports, macroeconomic reports, but we have services that are tailor-made. And those have been gaining a lot of ground in the last couple of months. So when they tell me they're like, this is tailor-made, I have that communication with the company. So when I feel it's very urgent, I can talk to the other company and I'm like, I know this was for in 2 days' time. I was wondering if I could do it in 4 days. So even with because the clients of at the end of the day, they're still people and they understand. And if you talk to them and you're honest and open, then you can do that sort of time management. So what I've been doing is, when trying to prioritize, it's not first come, first serve. It's not you pay more, you pay less. It's what's more time sensitive. And of course, if someone asks for it beforehand, they have the upper hand. And I don't take any jobs if I don't have the time. I'm very honest. And I have right now a tailor-made project with a company that they say, Lucia, we need it for a very important company decision, and this is going with above, like the board of directors and the board of they made it very, very important. I'm going to be honest, I can do this. If you want that, I can go all the way until a regional state or state level. I need 2 months, because if I make a promise, I'm going to deliver. And if I'm not going to, I try to negotiate, as I did with my brothers and sisters. We were doing the car. I do with my economists and the clients to try to manage all of these expectations and try to give everyone the best time for their decisions.
So really the answer is honesty. It comes down to being honesty. And so has this always been something that's been a trait of yours, that you can just like naturally flow into an honest conversation and tell people, hey, this is what we're capable of. Sorry if it doesn't match, whatever the case may be. And the reason why I ask is because I feel like so many individuals have hard time with doing so. You know, they try to juggle all of the balls at the same time and end up dropping them, right?
No, this is acquired. Because I went to the hospital a couple of times because of overstress. When I was an intern at Harvard, it wasn't only that I needed to make the best for the company. I was also a law student, an economics student. I was vice president of one of the student council. I was on the treasury of another. I was a teacher. So it was so much, and I wanted to do right by everyone. It was a time that I even slept 1 hour, and my health started to deteriorate very badly. I didn't eat right, and I didn't go to the gym. My health doesn't look like it looks today, because I would prioritize everything over me. But it came a time that it was so much that it was not only me. I started to fail at giving the best possible. That's when first my parents were like, you need to drop something. It's too much. So I need to make a choice to drop some things. And then in the company, it was the same. When I first started, I remember I could not say no. I was like, no, we need it, and expansion, and it's money. And how can we say no? They depend on us. And then I remember talking to my partner, the middle one, that he's been in the company more than 25 years. And I would go, Francisco, I just said yes to this and this. And he's like, Lucia, how are we going to do that? And I'm like, hope you brought your pillow because we're doing the slumber party again. And after a time, I realized I could not prioritize everything over myself. So after it started affecting my personal health, my personal life as well, it's like, okay, you need to learn how to say no. And I remember, well, my dad I think they gave me CEO also very young because they knew I had my dad. I don't think I know everything. I always rely on people I admire and trust. And I would go to business advice to my dad as well. And he would just say, Mijita, so just say no. Or the client will understand. You can also tell them no. And you can say, they're always going to say everything is urgent. Everything is always for yesterday. Everyone's always going to say everything is urgent and it's life and death and they need it. And if not, everything's going to tumble. And I remember when I first started taking decisions and I was in a manager position, not CEO yet, I was, okay, so everything is needed. So we need to do it. And I was juggling so much. And after I'm like, no, it's not true. I mean, we can gain that perception to evaluate when everything is life or, well, nothing is ever life of that. But when something is very important and we need to learn to manage expectations. So this honesty, I mean, I've always been an honest person, but the problem is I think I would overestimate what we could do. I mean, we could do it, but what? They have no life, sleep, 22-hour work days. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's not reasonable. I know when you're starting a company, that's what it's going to feel like. And it's okay. It's a period. But that is not, in the long run, it's not sustainable. So we need to learn how to talk to our clients, talk to our suppliers, and be able to this is the reality of the situation. What can we do to make, so we can both have a win-win to the best of the time frame, budget frame, everything frame that we have in the middle.
Were you surprised when you started having those conversations, when you became more comfortable saying no or giving different timelines or asking for extensions, whatever the case? Were you surprised at the way that people kind of, reacted or responded to that?
Very. Mm-hmm. It would have been so much easier. It was 3 years at least of worrying and just staying up late and weekends and vacations and everything because no, the client's always right. And then like, if I just started being honest and having these conversations, then they understand as well. They're human beings. They have families. They have things they want to do as well. And it's just talking to them and they understand that we're not robots. I mean, and we need rest and we need to be able to socialize and we need to be able to have the time and we have other things we need to do. We have other clients. And I was shocked at first. I'm like, this would have been so much, it wasn't a wow moment. So much easier if I just did this before. And now when a client tells me, Lucia, I need it. I've been able to classify. Well, when you have so many clients, you know which ones are always going to say the sky is falling, and which ones, when they say, Lucia, if I'm saying I need it, it's because I need it. I remember I was once in New York in a trip with my sister and my mom, and then a director from a big company here called me and said, Lucia, I need an update on the natural gas outlook because we're going to do the hedging. And I'm like, I'm on vacation. When do you need it? He said, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., I'm going to the border. And it was the day before at 4 p.m. So he basically just said, don't enjoy your vacation. But he's someone that some days before, we had extensions and moved some dates and was flexible. So I was able to identify, well, I'm not saying you're always going to be able to negotiate, but you need to gain that perspective when you do need to do the work weekends, vacations. It's not the normal, it's the exceptions. What we need to do is realize when there are those exceptions.
I love that reframing, right? I love that reframing from rather than deciding when to make exceptions to not do something, it's when to do something, and you have the framework in advance. So that's awesome. I'm curious as to how the industry has changed over time. You've been in it for 11 years now. Obviously, seen probably immense change, and I'm sure you're aware of change that happened previously. You also mentioned AI earlier in the conversation. So how has the way that you not only gather data, but also share data changed in the time that you've been a company?
Oh, so much. I remember that, well, first modeling. So even when my master's degree, I did in strategic foresight, and it was actually when AI models just started to emerge. There was no ChatGPT yet, or Copilot, or Gemini, or all of this. And I remember looking at it with my partners, and I'm like, this is the future. This is going to be amazing. Yes, but it has a lot of challenges yet, because what we've seen is that it comes with good, bad, fast, more mistakes. So AI has been like a revolution we have one, for example, I call him Harborsin. So Harborsin is my AI that I trained, that he already knows how to write my reports in the Harbor, because we have a Harbor way and we have a whole manual, and normally it would take months to learn the Harbor way. But right now with Harborsin, for example, which is our AI in writing, that makes it more possible that I can tell Harborsin about what we think is going to happen. And before that, we need to proofread and everything. So it writes it like way quicker. And that makes it that if we would give out 3 reports weekly, now we can do 10. So the amount of news data and everything that our clients expect is higher. And they are always asking way more than they did before. So everything is quicker and they want more. But in the other sense, I think that the core values of human, that human value is still there. And it's more important than ever. For example, when we have the models, I just say that the models give us an idea. But I don't ever trust a model completely, because, well, how is a model going to know if Trump is going to change his mind about something, or COVID? Or how is it going to model COVID if there's no data before? So what I've seen is the core values of what makes this difference. The fundamentals remain the same in this 11 years. More knowledge, more trying to figure out new ways with AI, with econometrics, Power BI, and the way we deliver the information, it's different. But the core or the essence behind it remains the same, because I firmly believe that AI is going to help us have more information. It's going to help us be more productive. I don't think it's going to replace us, because that human value of experiences, I always tell my clients as well, what makes us different than other companies, for example, or other companies. Like say that you graduate and you're top of your class and you can do the best models of econometric and AI ever. Yes, but what we have in experience is that when I talk to these companies, their top management tells me what they're going to do. I'm never going to share that information. That's private. But I use that information in my forecast, because I know beforehand when a company is going to invest or not before it comes to the market. So I can know that that's going to have a ripple effect or is not going to happen. So, but that's human interaction. That's human value. And there's no other way to get it.
Yeah, and that circles back to something you said earlier too, which is about the wisdom of your founders before, right? And how that translates down, and that, AI is a tool ultimately, right? But it still needs to be verified. It needs the human touch. It needs all of these things that it doesn't have access to be able to be successful.
Exactly.
Otherwise, they could just go on ChatGPT and say, what's the forecast?
Yeah, I said it. And I always said that the forecast that ChatGPT gives you, it's very biased. And in my company, they said that they like to always challenged themselves, and they've sometimes played against the AI to see who does a better model. And ultimately, my economists always do the better model. Why? Because they account for factors that it's not only math, it's human business, there's interactions that give us that perspective, that insight that gives it the final value.
I want to circle back on something you said earlier, which is that you're gaining traction in other markets. You mentioned specifically Spain, you signed a new client in, and I'm curious, how is that part of your growth plan? Is it, are you expanding worldwide? Is there certain countries that you favor over others for any given reason? What does that look like?
Yes. When I became CEO, I just remember because this new client is very new, and I posted it on my Instagram. Of course, I'm a millennial and I post everything on, on my Instagram. And one of my friends, she wrote to me and she said, you're making it. You always told me that you wanted to expand Harvard Economics globally because you think there are still a lot of business opportunity in Mexico, but, well, you always said you wanted to make the world a better place and you want to expand. So this was a milestone for me. And I'm very happy that we're starting to expand more. We don't favor any company or any country in general. We want to help any business that wants to do business in Mexico or in their country. Right now, we have been doing forecasts for a lot of Latin American countries like Peru, Ecuador, Brazil, Colombia. We're doing a lot of companies in Austria, Luxembourg, Switzerland, and we do the US, of course, Canada. Our focus, I think, my new marketing strategy that I started a few weeks ago goes more to Canada and the US because of the whole USMCA trade agreement renegotiation. And there are companies that are thinking about investing part of their company in Mexico, part in Canada, part in the US, because we're seeing a shift in the world where the supply chain, not only because of Trump's tariffs, but also because of what's happening with Russia and Ukraine and in Gaza, and sometimes the dry Baltic index or the logistic costs go way up trying to go overseas. So we're seeing a tendency of this regionalization. So that's why my focus, not because we favor the US and Canada, just because since the focus is there and we know that businesses are going to see, like, where do I put each part of my business? Maybe some part in Canada, maybe some part in Mexico, maybe all in Mexico, depends on where I can gain the most advantage. And that's where I'm focusing more on my marketing strategies now, because I think we can bring value to them. But as I said, we just signed in Spain. It was from a company that wanted to invest in Mexico as well. And we're open, and I want to be worldwide.
Yeah. Amazing. And is that something that you, like, for example, you mentioned Spain has interest in some sort of business in Mexico. Is that always the case, or sometimes it's completely irrelevant? It doesn't have to do anything to do with Mexico?
Sometimes it doesn't have to do with Mexico. Most of them, it's more, most of them have something in Mexico. With the US, we've done, for example, some models for construction, like construction outlook per state.
Okay.
And that's completely for a company that we have that has sales there and wants to see which market to go to or where to invest. And once I went also to Miami to give a conference, and it was completely the European outlook. So what we were expecting for the European outlook, inflation. It was when inflation in Holland and in the UK and everywhere in the world was double digit. So like, okay, and they also, the Americas, they're like, we need speakers to be able to say what is happening in the world. So they brought me to speak because even though our main focus and where we start is in Mexico, we have forecasts for so many other countries, and we keep expanding because, like it said, for example, FEMSA, when they started to, they bought Valora. And they were like, okay, Lucia, so remember that we had this amount of the countries. Now you need to learn Austria, Switzerland, and all of these new, because we're expanding to those countries.
Right.
And we want your perspective on it. So we started going into these countries as well. And that's how we've been growing. It's not more like a business plan in terms of we're going to go after this country and this country. No, it goes from our company's needs. So since they needed something from us in Europe, we started to expand in Europe. And then as it was founded, that it was like, well, I'm already doing it for you. Can I do it for other companies? It's the same here. They said, I need someone to focus Europe. Okay, so we're already focused in Europe. Let's see who else we can help.
Right. That makes perfect sense. And I imagine like it kind of goes hand in hand, right? Like if you get a client in a single market, then and you're already doing the research that's required to service X client, it would make sense to expand, get more clients in that same market.
Exactly, because that's how Harvest was founded. And that's how we expanded. So I'm like, if we did that in Mexico, why not do that worldwide?
One of the things that I've been really diving into with all of our guests over the past couple of days is really understanding the Mexican market and realistically Monterrey. When obviously you're based here in Monterrey, what's your perspective on Monterrey in comparison to other cities in Mexico, and why would someone choose to build their business in this city?
Okay, so I love Monterrey. I love it. And I think the labor culture here that we have, I mean, in all of Mexico, sometimes they say in the movies like Mexicans sometimes don't like to work that much. No, I've seen that people here have a work ethic and like always trying to give more and trying to do more. And they have an insight. Well, we're right next to the United States, and there is as you've seen, a lot of industrialization and services and consulting. So we've been growing a lot in the last couple of years. And I think a lot of that is because of the companies and the culture that is here. And well, I'm not going to talk well or bad about any government. I'm just going to say what I like about Monterrey is that if whatever type of government is in not giving enough education, for example, the companies build their schools. So they make the engineers, we also have Harvard University, we call it. So we try to teach our team the skills that they require, soft and hard skills. So what I've seen is the resilience of in Nuevo León, in Monterrey, the people and the private sector is, we're not going to wait around if it's blue, red, white, orange, government-wise. There's going to be good, there's going to be bad, there's going to be whatever. We're going to take matters into our own hand. One of them, and the most important thing, is the people. So, of course, we need also infrastructure, and there are things that, of course, we're lacking, and we're getting there. But I think the most important thing is the culture and the people. And what I've seen here is that we have great education, and when there's not enough, the companies make it their mission to give that education to the people of Monterrey.
I couldn't agree more. In my extremely limited experience of the past couple of days, the people are incredible here, and they're so interested in learning. To your point about education, right? Like, just sponges for information. Yeah. What does success look like for you and for Harbor?
Keep growing, not money-wise, but keep growing in the amount of companies we help, in being happy doing it. I mean, I think I'm blessed that I remember that when they made me partner, my dad, he said that, I was in my 20s, and he said that there's no way, you're not family. Why are they going to give you a third of a company just because? And when it was like a mid-parent situation, my dad, my mom, the founder and his wife, and they were like, why do you want Lucia? Because she has the passion. And when there was a time when we had a licitation of one of our biggest clients, and at the time it represented about 40% of our income, so we could lose it. And I remember I went out with my father and I said, if we lose the client, don't pay me. I would actually do this for free. So success for me is living the way I am living now in my company, where I am so passionate and I love what I do, that I would do it for free, because I believe in the mission, the value. And Success for Harbor, I'm not going to say being in 20 countries or 30 countries, no, is having the most amount of companies where we can make a positive change so we can have an impact and help them make better decisions.
You had such a unique and have still to go, I imagine, trajectory, right? Going from intern to CEO in the, what was it, in 6 years, I anticipate? Yeah, is that right?
Yeah.
There's people listening right now that are they might be so passionate, you know, maybe they think that they want to start their own business. Maybe they're in the intern position or something similar. What would your advice be to somebody who's extremely passionate about something and wants to turn that into a career?
Do what you love and do the best the way you can, and always deliver more than expected. Sometimes, I mean, planning is good, and I'm a planning person. It would look like I'm going around the world just saying, no, let's see what happens. No, like I said, when I wanted to be a lawyer when I was 8 years old, and I had my career drawn before me, everything. I would say from here to when I'm 60, I have everything figured out. But then when something happens, it doesn't mean that I say, well, okay, let's take another path. Yes, I can change path. But I would take a day and say, okay, if this is my new path, what does it look like? So yes, have a path, have goals, have it like I said right now. It's not, I want 30 companies, but I always said, I want to expand Harbor globally. What do I do to make that happen? Mm-hmm. When you want to start a company, just know that, or be an entrepreneur, or like my way, that was being a partner, it's going to be a lot of hard work at first. And there are going to be some nights. I think it's a trade-off. They always said that entrepreneurs or business owners have the most freedom. Yes and no. So it's a trade-off. So you might want to say you have your 9 to 5, but you have limited vacation days. In my case, okay, when I told my dad, I'm going on my 11th trip of the year. Like, you're crazy, you're always traveling. Yes, but sometimes I work on weekends. Mm-hmm. Sometimes my laptop is my, well, there it is. It comes with me everywhere. There's nowhere I go without my laptop. So it's this trade-off. So you need to choose this trade-off, what type of life you want. Both of them are good. Mm-hmm. It's just what makes you happy, what makes the most sense with what you want in life, not only business-wise, in your personal life. What makes you happy? This type of life makes me happy. Doesn't mean it would make anyone happy. Some people like more structure in terms like, when I disconnect, I want to disconnect completely. And they would say, when you have your business, then you're more safe because they can't fire you. Well, I say I don't have. They say you're the CEO and the partner. You don't have any bosses. I have more than 60 bosses on my clients because I'm dependent on them. So I need to always be trying to make all of them happen. So I would say just choose what makes you really happy. Don't be an entrepreneur just because of it's the easiest way. But if you're passionate about something and you are aware of this trade-off, go for it. Because when you do something with passion and you have a goal ahead of you, I think we can do anything.
And ideally get more than an hour a night sleep.
Yes. After you learn to talk with clients.
Exactly. Lucia, thank you so much for this conversation. It's been a pleasure chatting with you and your business philosophies and sharing your story. So thank you.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.